Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cohn Zone. I'm Grant. That's Lowell. We're the Cohns. We're in the zone. Dad, you've been watching me on YouTube the last few days talk about all the reasons that the Niners season isn't over and they have hope and they could still make the playoffs. And I think that you've kind of been watching from Sky Ranch being like, really, let's talk about it. So you and I are going to have a debate. But before we get into it, I want to let everyone know to stick around. We got about 6 or 7 topics we're going to get into. And at the end, we'll take some questions. But it ain't question time yet. It's debate time. And I think you know what I think. Dad, what do you think? What's in store for the Niners the rest of the season?
You know, I've covered a lot of football seasons. And I know the fans would like to hear that I think the Niners are really coming on and blah. I think what we have on our hands is a dead shark. A dead shark. That's from a Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. And this is so unscientific, okay? But I have a gut feeling that this season is cursed.
Oh.
They get 2 serious injuries every game. They had to play that awful Thursday night game with missing essentially 4 players and on the COVID thing.
Yeah.
If the league really cared about players and their product and fairness and equity, they could have just moved the game to Sunday, but they didn't want to lose the money on the Thursday night game, which, by the way, I understand, but I think it's unfair. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is everything that could possibly go wrong for the 49ers, they don't have their quarterback. They don't have their number 85 best offensive player. They don't have an edge rusher. I mean, you know, guys, people watching, I apologize, but this feels like a 6-10 season to me.
Last season, it felt like the stars aligned for the 49ers. Every time they needed a break, they got it. They started off the season 8-0. It was easy. This year does feel like the opposite. All I'm going to say is that it's a strange year for everyone. And the Niners, they're not necessarily bad or good. They're 4-5. Maybe other teams could have some bad luck. I mean, the COVID thing is still going on. It's a game of attrition anyway, and it seems like the attrition is doubled this year. So if it seems to me like the Niners' attrition happened early. They're hurt, but they're not out of it. They got a game coming up this weekend, which is going to be really tough, then a bye week. And then if they make a run after that, they'll make the playoffs. Will they make a run? I don't know. I mean, the way I look at it is going from Garoppolo to Nick Mullins in 2020 is not a downgrade. Jimmy Garoppolo was going through some stuff this year. He was not himself. So I agree. I don't know what that was. Maybe he'll be better next year. But this year, I don't think the Niners have downgraded at quarterback. And when they have Raheem Mostert and Deebo Samuel on the field together, I still think the offense is terrific, even without George Kittle. The question I have about the team is the defense. I mean, what is Robert Saleh supposed to do? Nick Bosa's not coming back. Richard Sherman's coming back. Is that a good thing? I don't know. They don't have a pass rush. They don't have much of a secondary. They have a terrific middle linebacker. So I don't know how good the defense can be, but I really do think Kyle Shanahan is good most of the time. And if he has Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Brandon Ayuk, Richie James Jr., Kyle Juszczyk, and Nick Mullins, they should be able to do something on offense. So look. Let's say they lose this weekend and have to go 5-1 after the bye week. They play the Rams. They match up well with the Rams. They got to play Washington and Dallas. Those are 2 games they can win. So that's 3 wins right there, maybe. Then the other games are Buffalo, Arizona, and Seattle. Tough, but not necessarily out of the question. I mean, Seattle has no defense. We saw what Nick Mullins did against them. Jimmy stunk. Nick Mullins played well against them. Arizona, that's a tough matchup. So look, could they go 5-2 the rest of the way? Could they go 4-3 the rest of the way? I don't know. If they go 4-3 the rest of the way and go 8-8, maybe they won't make it, but I think that would be an accomplishment this year, given how cursed they are.
Okay. I think 8-8 would be really good, and it would be something they could rationalize. Oh, all these things happen, and they could build on. Absolutely. Iggy, as far as their chances of going 5-2, if they were to lose this game, let me get it straight. It would be 5-2 counting this game?
Yeah, so let's say they lose this game. They'd have to go 5-1 after that.
5-1.
5-1.
Okay. The chances of them going 5-1 if they lose this are about the chance I have of flying to the moon with my arms, flapping my arms. I'd say that's about the chance they have. 5-1,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Look, again,
Yeah.
I apologize. I, I should, if I were trying to peddle, getting fans to like me, I'd say they're going to go 5-1 if they lose this game. As my mother would say, in a pig's eye.
In a pig's eye.
In a
Yeah.
pig's eye. Hold on. Give me 2 reasons you think they can put up a fight against a good team. Give me 2 reasons.
They have a lot of guys coming back on offense.
Okay.
If they have Debo Samuel, I like their offensive weapons, even without George Kittle. And they have one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. So even without John Elway or a great quarterback, even if they're at Nick Mullins or a backup or Jimmy Garoppolo, I've seen Kyle Shanahan take this group and destroy teams without a forward pass. They did it 3 weeks ago against the Patriots. They did it to the Rams. So if they can beat these teams without a forward pass, clearly they need Debo Samuel to do this stuff. And Brandon Ayuk. And last week they had no chance with what they had. But I've seen him do it. And if they have Raheem Mostert and Debo Samuel, those guys are always tough to stop. Raheem Mostert averages 6 yards a carry no matter what. And Nick Mullins, boy, don't you count him out. Just when you think he's done, he comes back and throws for 350 yards. Yeah.
Igley, I agree with what you said about him and Jimmy. I'm not saying he's a better quarterback than Jimmy, but he's certainly as good or better than Jimmy was this season. I'm going to say one more thing, and then maybe we'll move to the next topic.
Yeah.
Gene Washington, who probably people watching never heard of. He was an excellent wide receiver for the 49ers when I was a young man, and he went to Stanford when I went to Stanford. Always told me, Lowell, you entertain with offense and you win with defense. Pretty interesting, eh?
That's good. That's good. I also heard one, you throw for show and you run to win. I like that one too.
I like that too. We could do a whole show on cliches.
Yes.
I like, you know what I like? He's a north-south runner. Oh God. If I hear that one more time, he's a north-south runner.
Dad, I forgot to list the main reason the Niners are going to make the playoffs. Eric Armstead. He's going to be Eric Armstead and do all the things that Eric Armstead typically does and just put the team on his back. No, let's move on to a side topic. So I tried to make the argument that the Niners are going to make the playoffs, but I wouldn't actually wager anything on it. We usually wager a bottle of wine. Don't make me do that with this because I don't want to just give you wine. So what I'm asking is if you're right, and it looks like you're probably right, did the Niners were they just victims of bad luck this year, or did they mismanage the offseason, or both?
Okay, I think both.
Yeah.
I do think they had a lot of bad luck. For example, a lot of the injuries, Kittle, Bosa, those are devastating injuries.
Yeah.
And, I would call that bad luck.
Yeah.
All right. I would just call that bad luck. So sure. And again, being forced to play that Thursday night game, that was an abomination.
That's bad
by
luck.
The league.
Yeah,
so
that's bad luck.
They got screwed. Having said that, I could say a couple of things that I really think they mismanaged in the offseason. And again, I'm talking defense. Iggy, their cornerbacks, I mean, they have trouble matching up with big, strong, fast wide receivers, and there's a lot of them.
They have trouble matching up with good wide receivers, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them in their division.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you were always hacking at Chinik all off season. You got to draft a cornerback. And these guys, it's like, nah, I think we'll get another offensive lineman who actually doesn't rush the passer, but is out on the run.
Yeah, D lineman. Yes.
I'm sorry. Did I say offensive lineman?
Okay.
I'm an old man.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
You're here for. I meant defensive lineman. Look, D Ford is a lost cause, and then they lost Bosa. Look, you're supposed to have some guys who can rush the passer. Last Thursday against Rodgers, he was so comfortable. It was like he was sitting on the beach, drinking a Corona or something. Yeah. They couldn't get any pressure on him, and he doesn't respond to pressure. So in the offseason, they could have really gotten an edge rusher and gotten some cornerbacks. I'd say that's real mismanagement.
Instead, they got Javon Kinlaw and gave Eric Armstead a lot of money and Jimmy Ward a lot of money. And those 3 guys are the invisible men every week. Although they say they're doing well. I just can't tell.
And another thing, no knock on Jimmy or Nick. They could have drafted a quarterback and started developing.
Packers did.
Yeah, I mean Beathard, he's a very nice man, I guess. I don't think he has much of a future in the league, except as a punching bag, So
Right.
I think another thing they should have done was to begun developing a quarterback. So no,
Dad, real
no.
quick, remember what Walsh used to say about drafting quarterbacks?
Tell me, I don't remember.
You need to draft one every year. It's the most important position. It's the hardest position to get right. How do you do it? You draft one every year. You increase your odds. If you draft one every 5 years and it's CJ Beathard, how are you going to get it right? It's hard.
Right.
You should draft one every year until you have Joe Montana. And even at that point, he was still looking around, right?
You get Steve Young.
Yeah.
And, I don't think they ever liked each other. I don't think they like each other now. And it was like they brought Steve into the building and there was tremendous competition between those two guys.
They didn't bring Steve in to be Joe's friend.
No.
I'm sure Billy counted on them not liking each other and thought, well, good.
I would think you're right. That's how Bill thought about things.
I want to stick with the mismanagement of the offseason. Yeah. I mean, not drafting a quarterback. Look, the Niners knew that they were on a year-to-year evaluation with Jimmy Garoppolo. They said it. They were like, he was good for a young guy. It was his first year starting. We still don't really know. Okay, well, they could have done that with Tom Brady. They could have, instead of gone year to year with Jimmy, they could have gone year to year with Tom Brady and drafted a guy. And instead, they stuck with a guy that they weren't really sold on. They made that clear. And now they're going to have to get rid of him anyway. So that was a mismanaged opportunity. They could have just gotten rid of Jimmy while he was worth something, and they had the misgivings anyway, brought in Tom Brady, brought in anyone. And then the whole getting rid of DeForest Buckner thing. Oh. I mean, not only was he their best player on defense, but he was the leader of the defense. He was like Joe Staley's heir apparent in terms of the voice in the locker room. And there's reports coming out of Indianapolis. He's doing great. And the defense is doing great in Indianapolis. And they're saying that he transformed it and he's opening up about how he got there. And he said, it was really strange. I felt like I helped rebuild the culture in San Francisco. And we came time to negotiate. They weren't even willing to meet me halfway. We thought we were going to negotiate and meet me halfway. We put down our number and they said, well, good luck. That was it. It was like, thanks for everything, DeForest. And so now the Colts have a great building block franchise player, and the Niners have Eric freaking Armstead, who has a sack and a half and floats through games doing the patty cake dance.
Meaning he's patty caking with the offensive linemen.
Yeah, doing a bunch of patty caking. Or sometimes it's a tight end. Teams are starting to put tight ends on him, and he's not beating them. He used to. I don't get it.
I guess what you're saying is people should not underestimate what a mistake it was with Buckner.
Yes.
And you would have to think, I would have to think that mistake was Jed York and Parag Marate.
Yes, I think they just felt Buckner was too expensive. It was, you talk about the cheapo Yorks, boom, right there. It's like, I want to put it in baseball terms. It's like if 25-year-old Madison Bumgarner and Jeff Samardzija were free agents at the same time, and the Giants were like, yeah, we prefer Bumgarner. We agree that Bumgarner's the better pitcher, but if we let Bumgarner go and sign Samardzija, we can also keep Pablo Sandoval. Like, oh my God. Who thinks like that? That's what the Niners did. They basically kept Jeff Samardzija because it allowed them to keep their utility infielder too. No, you just lost your ace and traded him. You traded him for a guy who's I can't keep the baseball metaphor going, but Javon Kinlaw. You traded Buckner for a guy who has, how many sacks Kinlaw has this year, Dad? Can you guess?
No.
0.
Well, that's
not
impressive.
One. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Only go up from there.
Yeah.
So you know what, Iggy, what I think you're saying is when it comes to football wisdom, the people who are running the show and giving the money are not showing wisdom.
No.
In fact, they're showing the opposite of wisdom, which would be not ignorance so much as foolishness.
The only reason the Niners have had success under this in the last 4 years is because their coaches are really good. So every time they draft the wrong guy, they sign the wrong guy, they trade for the wrong guy, there's some other backup who was a 6th-round pick or an undrafted guy who they developed. And they're like the Patriots. The Patriots used to do that. The Patriots stink at picking players because it's Belichick. He's not a GM, but they develop extremely well. And they always have these guys who, like in year 2 or year 3, like, who the hell is that guy? He's pretty good. Well, This is starting to catch up to the Niners. They don't have any more undrafted guys stepping up anymore. Now it's like, Armstead, we need you. Jimmy Ward, where are you? So now these mistakes are starting to hurt the Niners. And if they have a losing season this year, you step back and you're like, well, this regime has had 3 losing seasons in 4 years. What are they?
Iggy, I have a question about Armstead. You're criticizing him, and I think fairly. It's a fair criticism. Do you think his lack of production this season is a lack of passion or a lack of technique?
It's more than just that. I don't think he's playing as hard as he did last year. Last year, I thought he was the hardest playing person on the team. You could tell that he was in a contract year and he was great. This year, he's not particularly. Fred Warner is. And I think other thing is he's kind of playing out of position. Since the Niners lost all their defensive ends, he's playing defensive end, and he's not good at it. He's just not good. He's better on the inside. He's better on the inside when the offenses are more concerned with Bosa and Buckner and Ford. When he's the 4th pitcher.
Right. So again, it's a lack of football wisdom.
Yes.
You put the guy out, you pay him a lot of money and say, play another position that you're not good at. Again, there's a lack of football wisdom there.
That's right. It's the same thing they did with Solomon Thomas. Not that he had a position, but they drafted him. They're like, hey, we need you to play D-end. Same thing they're doing with Armstead right now. Hey, we got to get you at D-end. We don't have anyone out there. Okay, well, that's not what I do, but I'll try.
Sure.
All right. So they mismanaged it. Let's talk about this game coming up this week, the Saints game. You wrote off the Niners for the rest of the season. I was more optimistic. I kind of wrote off the Niners for this game with Vish a couple of days ago, and you were like, "Really? Is there no way the Niners can win this game?" And then the Bucks did. I mean, they did what the Saints did what they did to the Bucks, which was amazing. I don't know if you watched that, Dad.
I didn't watch it, but I know what happened.
I just watched it again this morning, and I do have thoughts on what the Niners can do. But is there? What do you expect this weekend? What do you expect to see?
Okay, I expect the 49ers to lose, and the only thing that I wonder about is will they get slaughtered or lose in a respectable manner? Look, I don't have anything very scientific to say. Drew Brees is he can still really throw, and if you don't put pressure on him, he'll murder you. So I just don't think they can win. But I'm certainly open to what you have to say. Okay,
I just watched it. Drew Brees is terrific. Everything he throws is short. Everything he throws is short. And he's great at it. He throws to his running backs, his tight ends. It's everything's like within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. The Niners saw him last year. They did a really good job on his number 1 guy, Alvin Kamara. It's a handoff to Kamara. It's a throw to Kamara. The Niners have really good linebackers. They're vulnerable deeper down the field. So that's one thing. And then when I watched what the Bucks tried to do against the Saints was throw the ball down the field. The first 3 possessions, they had deep shots. None of them were complete. And each time Tom Brady got hit, and you look at the Saints, all they do is just 8-yard throw, 8-yard throw, 2nd and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 1st and 10. It's just like constant. I think the Niners can do a similar kind of thing. They're not trying to go down the field like the Bucks were. The Niners are trying to throw short passes and get yards after the catch too. So the Bucks couldn't run the ball. The Bucks had no short game. The Bucks got beat by blitzes and pressure. What the Niners can do is get the ball out of Nick Mullins' hands instantly and let the game come down to Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Richie James Jr., and make the Saints tackle. Take the game out of the pass rushers' hands, the coverage's hands, and make them tackle. Because the Niners guys after the catch are some of the best in the league. That's the only way that they have a puncher's chance. And I'm not saying they win, but if they can compete in this game and go into the bye week with the confidence that they did better against the Saints than the Bucks did, maybe they can go on a run. Maybe they can go on a run after the bye week. I don't know. It's important for them to compete. If they don't compete, they're going to go. They might not even make it to 6-10, Dad. It'll be a really bleak bye week.
I have a question for you. What makes you so sure that Kyle Shanahan is going to call a lot of short passes for Nick Mullins?
I'm not, because it seems like he only calls those passes for Jimmy Garoppolo. Really, I don't know what it is. Like maybe there's a lot of pressure in the organization to protect Jimmy Garoppolo, and there isn't any pressure to protect Nick Mullins. But it seems like Kyle only gets the brainstorm of the 8,000 different ways to throw screens when Jimmy's playing, and then when the backup comes in, he's like, "All right, let's go bombs away, buddy." Why?
I don't know, but and what you call them is Jimmy Gimmies, right?
Jimmy Gimmies.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, this poor Nick Mullins comes. He has to scan the field. He has, he's under pressure. So I would love to know, and I'm not close with anybody there, what in the world is Kyle Shanahan doing asking more of the backup than he asks of the starter? So when you're saying the Niners can do all of these short passes, blah, 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 sure, they can, if Kyle will let him do it.
Yeah. So basically, I'm trying to do my job as the quality control coach. I know Kyle's watching right now. Kyle, you're going to lose one way or another, but you're going to get blown off the face of the earth if you try to throw the ball down the field with those deep play action passes. Just call screens, left, right, throw to the wide receiver behind the line of scrimmage, throw to the other wide receiver behind the line of scrimmage, hand off to Mostert. If you do those things, you probably only lose by 7. So that's what you got to do. Kyle.
Iggy, are you quality control for the 49ers?
Yes, they don't pay me, but I have the job, and I'm doing a good job. I think that my quality is pretty good.
I think you have quality, and I think that Kyle, when he's not watching himself throw forward passes in his office, he ought to watch you because you're unofficial quality control.
The reason they lost the last 2 weeks is he got a little bit of a big head and stopped watching me. He started to think that he was the reason that the Niners were winning, but of course it's me. So now that he's lost the game and he needs a week and a half to get some ideas, Kyle, right here, you got to get the ball to your fullback consistently, not just every other game, consistently. And then you got to use Richie James Jr. And then you got to send me a check for $1.50.
Oh, I think a nickel. I think a nickel.
A nickel is fine. Just any type of payment would make me feel great. Dad, let's talk big picture. What is the biggest pleasant surprise of the season for the 49ers so far, or is there one?
Okay, that's a really good question. And here is, again, my totally irresponsible answer. There is no pleasant surprise. Ooh. There is no one who stepped up and said, I'm terrific. Look. Now, Mostert was last season. Okay. Mostert clearly was last season, but they do as far as I think about it, in terms of their roster, there is no Mostert who stepped up out of nowhere and you really say they can build on that. That's really good. Do you have anybody?
Well, I really liked Richie James last week. I thought he was terrific. I do. I don't know. I thought he was just as good as the rookie that they've been playing, Brandon Ayuk. Now, Ayuk may surpass him, but I thought Richie James was good in every single way. Route running, he dropped a pass, but he was good after the catch. He was good as a ball carrier. I think they can build on that. I mean, Kendrick Bourne is serviceable. He's okay. And he seems to test positive for COVID-19 every other week. So I don't know. It seems like now they got Richie James Jr. who can do a little bit more. That's not a bad thing. So that's a pleasant surprise. Also, Fred Warner went from being a good player to being an elite player, and he still isn't even 24 years old yet. He's been a pleasant surprise. I like watching him. And, when they were getting destroyed by the Packers on national television and Eric Armstead and every player really looked like they didn't want to be out there, Fred Warner was playing really, really hard. So I don't know, little things like that. That's about it, though.
Iggy, I find your 3 players convincing. I think you made a really good counter argument to me. Ayuk, I think he'll be a star. Don't you think he'll be a star in the league?
Yeah, once they get a quarterback who can get him the ball consistently, yeah.
And I also feel that there are certain positions they don't have covered. But wide receiver, I think they have covered. I think they have good wide receivers going forward. So look, here's another tip, Kyle. When you guys draft, I don't think you need a wide receiver. I think you got a lot of other needs, but leave wide receiver alone.
Yeah. You need quarterback, offensive line, edge rusher, corner, safety. 5 things.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
You can do it. But don't you dare take another wide receiver because you take a wide receiver every freaking year. Jeez. All right. What's the biggest disappointment so far this year? Is there only one?
Oh my God. Legion. Okay, how about I'll start with the quarterback. I mean, a lot of it, you say Jimmy was injured. The point is, when he played, he wasn't particularly good, and he doesn't play enough. So I have to say, he's a big disappointment.
Oh, they said no to Tom Brady because of him, and he couldn't make it through 5 quarters without getting hurt. And he didn't play well before that. So yeah. Yep, Jimmy. But there's more. I mean,
you name
Big
one.
91, Eric Armstead making $17 million a year with a sack and a half. He would have to qualify. The first round pick, Javon Kinlaw, 14th pick in the draft, no sacks. He would have to be in there. George Kittle. We love George Kittle around here. He's a big fan of the program. They gave him a lot of money this offseason. He played 6 games. That's tough. And the injury was a non-contact injury. So now you got to wonder what's going to happen in the future with him.
That was what was disturbing. I mean, I looked, it's not like someone landed on his foot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what it means, but it does make you wonder if it happened just running around, is he sort of vulnerable? I don't know. But yes, I would, when you say who's a disappointment, we don't mean that we're down on them, that they're morally suspect. We don't mean that. We just mean it's what happened is they're disappointing. They didn't step up. Maybe Jimmy Ward as well.
Yes. And again, I'll put Nick Bosa in there, not by any fault of his own. He had bad luck happen to him. And now he's at a position where at 22 years old, he's had 3 major surgeries already. That's disappointing for him. It's not any fault of his, but that's disappointing for the team. He's supposed to be their Hall of Fame future type of cornerstone guy. And now you're like, well, gee, I mean, we'll see.
Iggy, I have another one. Yeah. McGlinchey.
Oh, God. Yes, absolutely. I always forget about McGlinchey because I never thought he was any good, but they did. I mean, look real quick. The Niners could have drafted a terrific offensive lineman. Instead, they took Javon Kinlaw because they had Big Mike McGlinchey. Why would you take an offensive lineman? They got Big Mike. Well, Big Mike came in as Skinny Mike this offseason. It's interesting. The whole COVID thing put the onus on players to work out on their own. There's no strength and conditioning staff. So some guys were great. Fred Warner, look at him. McGlinchey, whatever his regimen was, he got a new one. You need a new one, buddy. That didn't work.
But he likes to be the voice of the team.
Yes, but I don't think they let him do it anymore. I haven't seen him or heard him for weeks. Maybe
you stay in the locker room.
He always wants to answer big picture questions like he's the offensive. He's Matt Ryan's little cousin. So I think what he did is grew up watching tapes of Matt Ryan interviews and like does an impersonation. It's weird. It's weird.
I didn't know that. So they're related.
Yeah, that's his older cousin. So I guess he's like, I have to talk like this when I'm in front of people. Like, nah, that's not working for you. You're not Matt Ryan. You're just Mike. Sorry, Mike. Okay, let's move on. Oh
no, so, I got more. I got more.
Oh, we got many more disappointments.
Listen, I can't give up on this.
Yes.
Jed York ran out on the team. Come on.
Yeah.
This is the leader. Yeah. This is the leader who couldn't take the heat. What the hell? And if the leader can't take it, who else can? So disappointment. Now, the only thing I would say, I was disappointed in Jed, but it kind of makes sense. I've always been disappointed in Jed.
So there was like a fantasy in the Bay Area the past few years that Jed had grown up. He had turned a corner. He matured. No, is who he is, and he's always going to be this way.
Yeah, so I had to add him. And you know what? I throw in his father too, just for good measure.
Yeah. John, you get some too. And Denise, don't think I have forgotten about you either. Okay. All right. So, Dad, I want to tell you that so far my blocked count is up to about 8 of former and current 49ers. It started off with Colin Kaepernick. And this was before he was the greatest person of all time. This was back when he was trying to become a good quarterback. He spent an offseason with Kurt Warner. I said, that's not going to work. Kurt's not a coach. You should go to Jeff Garcia. He didn't like that. Blocked. 2013. Second, Navarro Bowman. He didn't like me. Blocked. Now I got Quan Alexander. Who else do I got? I got Richard Sherman. Oh, I got a full list here. Trent Taylor, Nick Bosa. All have blocked me. And you know what? I love it. I think it's great.
You're going too fast.
Okay.
I want to do this in an orderly way. Remember, I was an English teacher.
Yeah.
Why do you think these people blocked you? Let's not generalize. Let's say Sherman. Why do you think Richard Sherman blocked you?
Fair. Okay. He hadn't blocked me till recently, and I don't know for sure, but he blocked me. Must have been the last month or two. So I went back and looked at my tweets that mentioned him, and there was one about a month and a half ago saying that Jason Verrett's better than him. That might have done it. What happens is I'll tweet something, and a lot of times people like my tweet, so it'll get 200, 300 likes, And then maybe sometime the player sees it himself and he says, screw this guy. I don't want to see his tweets anymore. So he blocked me. So I'm thinking it might have been the Jason Verrett one.
Hey, listen, another way it works is they don't see your tweets, but someone will say, did you see what Grant Cohn tweeted? That used to happen to me all the time. Real quick, there weren't tweets when I started, but someone will come over to me and you say, I didn't really like what you wrote about me. Yeah. And I'd say, what part didn't you like? And you say, I didn't read it, but my friend told me about it. Iggy, I got to tell you, that happens to every sports writer, and it happened to me a lot. And I always laughed, and I would always say, listen, when you read it and you actually know what you're talking about, I'm open to talking, but there's no sense on going on with this.
Yeah. Didn't one say that the cleaning lady read it? The cleaning lady?
That was poor Joe Morgan who just died. Yeah, he said he was angry at me because of what I wrote. And Joe, rest in peace. And I said, Joe, I don't remember writing about you. It really in a long time. Please tell me what I wrote and we could talk it out. And he goes, I don't know, but my cleaning lady wrote it and said I should never talk to you again. I wrote a column saying that was one of the best put downs I ever had. And he should pay the cleaning lady extra because not only was she a cleaning lady, she was a literary editor.
That's funny.
So that did happen. Let
me explain why I'm so proud of being blocked by certain players. Yes. I don't go on Twitter and try to start fights with them, take personal shots. I critique their game. I critique Trent Taylor. I said he's no good. They should play Richie James. He blocks me. So to me, it feels like I am on point. I hit the mark. I hit him where it hurts, and he couldn't face the truth. And it's more a reflection of his insecurity and sensitivity than my lack of professionalism. I mean, Nick Bosa blocked me on Twitter before the Niners drafted him. All I did was and you probably remember it, I put out a video of his strengths as a prospect and a video of his weaknesses as a prospect. So there was some praise and some criticism. He couldn't take that. That was too much. He blocked me. So I was like, okay, well, good. I'm glad.
And, it really is revealing about them.
Yes, it is.
And if they were older and more mature, because remember, they're very young men, they would say, if I do this, it looks weak. I shouldn't. I should retweet it to show it doesn't bother me at all. Steve Young would have retweeted it. If I criticized him, it changed nothing. Or with Bill Walsh, changed nothing. And they would make a point to come up and talk to me to show you don't get to me. And it's very weak. And I want to tell you something. When these people block you, now again, if you libeled them or wrote about their personal life, of course I could understand that. Just because as a professional you have an opinion about their play, if they block you for that, you should be goddamn proud.
That's right. Because they chose to be professional athletes, and this is what comes with the paycheck. Criticism of the play. And the thing is, I've been really hard on Eric Armstead and Dante Pettis, who's no longer on the 49ers. Dante blocked me at one point, but then, Dante's very smart, and he realized what you said. It's a weak move. I can't do this. Unblock me. And he would actually have fun with me sometimes on Twitter. If he had an issue, he'd talk to me in the locker room himself. I respect that. Eric Armstead has never said a word to me. He's tweeted at me a few times that he doesn't like what I've said. He also hasn't blocked me. I respect that more than Trent Taylor. So,
Iggy, when did Trent Taylor block you?
Recently, because it just struck me that people were being too hard on Dante Pettis. That Trent Taylor was the real one who needed to be released, not Dante Pettis. That he was the worst player in the wide receiver room. I don't understand why he keeps getting playing time, and especially when Richie James Jr. is behind him and doing well. I've been making it like one of my causes on Twitter, and he doesn't want to hear it. Sorry, dude, play better.
And Iggy, he's a slot receiver.
Yes, who doesn't get open.
And you feel that he really does is not contributing much to the team at all.
He was decent as a rookie in 2017. Then he had back surgery, missed a season. No, had back surgery, played awful in 2018, missed 2019 with foot surgery, and now he just doesn't have whatever he had in 2017 when he wasn't even that good back then. So yeah, he's done.
Okay, I have a little bit more to say on this.
Yeah.
First of all, when people ignored me, they were angry. They didn't, there's no tweeting, but they ignored me. I always felt, I don't need you, and you're going to come to me. And Iggy, almost always, they come to you.
Yeah.
The other thing, and this is really important, Iggy is only 32 years old. He will be 33 on January 13th. He's a young man. These guys are going to be long gone. These guys who block you, Trent Taylor, he may not be there next year. Is Sherman going to be there next year? Is he signed?
No.
I don't think they're going to keep him. So these guys are going to block you, and it's for another, 8 games or whatever. Who cares? They'll be gone, and there'll be another cast of characters. So it's really irrelevant to you. It's irrelevant.
And again, I judge these players for doing it. Like I look at Richard Sherman as an all-time great. And I also look at John Lynch as an all-time great. John Lynch played defensive back like Richard Sherman, and John Lynch would never block someone for criticizing his play. John Lynch understands that's part of the deal. And to get that sensitive and insecure makes me think differently about you.
Yes. Yeah, and clearly you can't say Richard Sherman is unintelligent. They're both Stanford guys, and from Lynch and Sherman, they're both, I don't know Sherman, but I did know Lynch, and he's very bright, and I assume Sherman is just a brilliant guy. So It's not a question of intelligence and not understanding. It's a question of maybe being a little emotionally immature.
Yes, and you look at a guy like George Kittles, who I've criticized him this year. His response is to always kill me with kindness. Hey, Grant, it's great to see you. It is so good to see you. And that disarms me. What am I going to do? It's a very mature way of handling it. I don't know if he likes me. He may not like me at all, but that's how he handles it. Maybe it's a very Midwest thing. Hey, Grant.
I also feel about Kittle, I think there are people who I call universal likers. And in fact, you're a universal liker. I'm not.
Yeah.
If you really knew Iggy, he likes to like people. He's California, I'm New York. Kittle is a universal liker. Yes. I think he likes you until you prove him wrong.
I think so.
And that's a nice quality.
I think so too. So, Dad, you are now on YouTube once a week. You were on KPIX just a couple of days ago. You retired in a sense, but it seems like you're back in the game or you never left. How does that feel?
Well, Iggy and Swasti came over for dinner a few nights ago, and we had a really nice time, and we had chicken cacciatore and some really nice Pinot Noir with it. Oh no, it was Merlot. And anyway, so Iggy at one point said to me, Dad, you're retired, but you're still in the game. That's what he said. And I didn't say anything at the time. They left. I was cleaning up, and I was thinking, that was really a nice thing of my son to say to me, you're still in the game, because I don't write columns anymore. I don't travel anymore. And I'm 75. I really don't want to have deadlines, and I don't want to travel anymore. But it meant something to me. I would, and being in the game is doing this with Grant. Yeah. And I would do, if he asked me, of course I would do it, but he's my son and I love him. But also I like to give my opinion, and I like that actually people listen and watch. Now, they watch for you, but I'm part of the act.
Hell
and
yeah.
So, and I have to say, it makes me feel younger, a tiny bit relevant, and it's a very nice feeling. Also, Dwayne Kuiper did a hilarious video that's on YouTube, and it's on Iggy's Twitter and mine. He evened the score. That it was fair enough. I got him 38 years ago, and he evened the score after 38 years, and he did a dramatic recitation from of a chapter of my book about him, and it was a scream. And I wrote to him and told him how much it meant to me, and we both got a giggle out of it. So I'd have to say, Grant, thank you, because I didn't know this would mean this much to me, and it really does.
Well, what I want to say is, when you decided to retire in 2017, you told me, I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. And I was thinking, I'm like, really? Are you sure? And you were saying, like, I can't do this. I can't be a newspaper writer anymore. I can't travel. I just can't. It's a young man's job, and it's too much. I'm 70. I'm tired. Because you were in Houston covering a Raiders playoff game, and you were lying in the hotel bed thinking, what the hell am I doing here? And that was the right response. I mean, what the hell were you doing there? Absolutely. But what I was telling you is, like, really, like, can't you go and ask your editors, like, if you could write once a week or do it on your terms, because I know you're going to miss it. I know just leaving the game is going to be really hard for you. And what's nice is that we've now found a way for you to get back in the game 100% on your terms. You don't have to travel. You don't have to work with a boss or even write if you don't want to. You like to write about the things you want to write about now. You don't have to have an essay about Robert Saleh or Kyle. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just come on here and be the star once a week, and then you get a bunch of new Twitter followers. You get invited where you want to go, and now you have the type of influence that you would like at 75 years old, and I think that's really cool.
Well, it's all because of you and your enterprise and what a superstar you are at this. So I have to say, Iggy, I love doing this with you, and you keep me in the game. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's funny. We've been talking for years, like we should start a podcast. Wouldn't it be so great if like Comcast gave us a show? We just created our own show, and it's terrific. I'm so proud of it. Anyway.
I don't think we need Comcast.
No, see ya. If you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to stick around for 15 minutes and answer them. We're not big inside football guys like Vish and I are. We're more big picture football guys. But we'll answer whatever you got. Lowell's never been better with his commentary. He props the show up, that's for sure. That's absolutely. I just get in here and ask him questions and let him be the star.
Thank you, East Bay Chris. You're a great guy.
Who is Lowell's best interview outside of the big names?
Does that mean who did I enjoy interviewing and it came off well?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really good question. Let me just say that in my years, I loved to interview Kevin Mitchell, but he was a big name. Jeffrey Leonard, what a interesting, complicated man. Keith Fonhorst, the great left tackle who recently died, and Randy Cross is brilliant. Steve Young, but that's a really big name. Okay, I'm going to give you. I'm sorry,
Ahmad Brooks.
Ahmad Brooks was it was phenomenal. Oh. Ahmad Brooks, because Iggy, you never knew what he was going to say.
No, he was out of his mind, but in a very gentle way.
I always enjoyed to interview Trent Baalke because whatever you asked him, he was uncomfortable about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could ask him, is the sky blue? And he would wonder, what are they getting at? And it was fascinating.
Pete Smith works with me at SI. He said, Iggy said that Josh Allen is a better athlete than John Elway ever was. How does Lowell feel? Have you watched Josh Allen much, Dad, with Buffalo?
I've watched them.
Our cousin who coached against Bill Walsh for years said that to me. He said, this guy from in Buffalo is the most physically gifted, has the most arm talent I've ever seen. I've never seen a quarterback throw the ball that hard. I've never seen it. And I always thought John Elway was the gold standard. This kid's even more. That's why I said it. I took credit for it.
All right. Here's what I have to say. I have no idea who's a better athlete, and nor do I care. But John Elway was John Elway.
Yeah.
Josh
Allen, Josh Allen.
Yeah, but he's not John Elway. I mean, I'm going to give you an example. Joe Montana, a lot of people say he's the greatest quarterback who ever lived.
Yes.
I certainly wouldn't argue with that.
Yes.
Imagine if John Elway played for Bill Walsh on those teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he'd be better than Joe, but it would be a conversation. I wouldn't put Josh Allen there.
Right. And I think it's possible that even in the mid 80s, if Bill Walsh could have traded Joe Montana for John Elway straight up, he'd probably think about it. Like, imagine what I could do with John Elway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to throw slants all the time. I could do whatever I wanted. Anything what I wanted. Yeah.
That's right.
That's true. That being said, though, you know where Josh Allen is from? Firebaugh. Firebaugh is one of those places on I-5 when you're like past Los Baños and stuff like that. He's one of the 85 people from Firebaugh, California. He's as a farmer. He's like if Oski was a quarterback in the NFL.
Uncle Oski. Our Uncle Oski was an almond rancher up in Arbuckle.
Arbuckle, California. And we used to go there twice a year and for Thanksgiving and Easter. It was the Christian portion of our holiday.
Oscar DeMarco, who my wife's uncle, My wife's Iggy's part Italian. You don't know that. His mother's maiden name is Roundsville, but her mother was a DeMarcos. So Iggy is descended in the line of the DeMarcos. He's a Cohn DeMarco who had a bar mitzvah.
That's right, Cohn DeMarco. Christy 1687 says, "Love Lowell used to race to read the green sheet every Monday."
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. There was some other really good writers there, and I have to give credit. I worked with the great Glenn Dickey, and he was very controversial. He was such a good friend, and Ira Miller was a legend, and Ron Thomas. These were people I'm still very dear friends with.
Vince has a question. I went on with Vince recently. He interviewed me about how young journalists should make it in the industry. He's asking you, what is Lowell's advice for young sports journalists?
Okay. I actually think Iggy could answer this better because Iggy is making his way. It's different. I latched on with a newspaper and held on for dear life. Now I think it's a whole other world. The advice I can give for a journalist who wants to be a writing journalist is persist.
Yep.
That's the most important thing. Iggy, you would agree. Don't give up.
Well, that's the advice, no matter what kind of journalist you want to be.
That's right. People fall away. And if you are always there and always in people's faces, you stand a much better chance than even people more talented than you, because the ultimate talent is persistence.
That's true. And that's part of being a journalist, is not taking no for an answer. We're trying to get an interview, trying to get a job. It's just constantly.
Yes. It's the same impulse. But for a writer, I would also say, when you write, keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I always say, in your writing, keep it simple. And it's hard to keep it simple.
Take classes on writing.
I think so, or certainly read a lot.
Read a lot. Either one.
Read a lot, and I don't mean the newspaper. I mean read good writers. Read fiction.
Yep. We got a question from Sean. Dad, from your interactions, what was Ronnie Lott like as a person? Why do you think he never became a coach? And then after that, who was a better offensive coordinator, Holmgren or Shanahan Sr.?
Boy, okay, let's take them one at a time. What was Ronnie like? Boy, Ronnie had several personalities. On the field, he was remorseless. He would really hurt you. But he wasn't a cheater. I mean, he just was remorseless. I knew Ronnie off the field. He was soft-spoken, gentle, listened, curious, affectionate. Iggy, you saw when we were at the Hall of Fame banquet for Carmen, Ronnie and I saw each other and hugged each other.
Absolutely.
Ronnie Lott is a lovely, lovely person. Again, I don't become friends with these people, but he's pretty close to to the highest level I could ever be with an athlete. Why do I think he never became a coach? I don't think he would have had the patience for people who weren't as good as he was. Also, Ronnie is a brilliant businessman. He's made a ton of money, and I think that's where his interest was.
Like Magic Johnson.
Yes, like Magic Johnson. Ronnie has a lot of money. He's very forceful. He's a very dynamic, forceful person. A better offensive coordinator, Holmgren or Shanahan. Boy, that is so interesting, because Iggy, they were different.
They were.
I mean, Holmgren was a Bill Walsh clone.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yes, and Shanahan was not.
No, he was from a whole different tree.
Yep.
Boy,
say Holmgren.
You're going to say Holmgren?
Yeah, I mean, he first of all, they both won Super Bowls. Holmgren went to Super Bowls with two different teams. He took the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. He lost to the Steelers, but he took the Seahawks to the Super Bowl with Matt Hasselbeck. What did Mike Shanahan ever do as a head coach without John Elway? He won as an offensive coordinator with Steve Young. But Mike Holmgren won as an offensive coordinator with Joe Montana. So I think Holmgren's third act in Seattle is something. I mean, look what Mike Shanahan did in Washington.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I agree with you. I still think Mike's terrific,
Yes.
especially that running game. So I would say I would give um, Holmgren a fractional edge,
Yes.
fractional
Yes.
over Mike.
Okay. Yeah. Fair
And
enough.
I would, at this point, I would give both of them an edge over Kyle, both of them, because they won Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. It's not about how creative you are, how much
Right.
potential you have. It's about accomplishments. Yeah. Um, would Bill Walsh be done with Jimmy Garoppolo at this point, or show him tough love? And could Walsh develop Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah. That's who asked that question?
Simmons 76.
That's a really good question. Thank you. I don't think Bill Walsh ever would have taken him in the first place.
Ooh, why?
He would have seen his limitations.
Yeah.
Bill thought the game. You can think the game through a certain position. We've said that Kyle thinks it through wide receivers. Bill thought it through quarterbacks. He would see a guy who was, first of all, through picks. Jimmy throws picks.
Yep.
He would see bad footwork.
Yep. That would be it.
Coach it up.
Yep.
But he's been coached, and he reverts.
Yep.
He would see a guy who was sluggish as a runner and did not throw well on the deep ball. And Bill, as I've said a million times here, always said to me, Lowell, the quarterback is the limit of my offense. Here's a guy who aspired to Joe and Steve and still felt they had limits.
Yep.
And I think he would have seen that in Jimmy. I don't think he ever would have taken him.
What I've noticed with Bill is he was always looking for quote unquote mobile quarterbacks. I mean, the signature throw of Joe Montana's career is him rolling right and hitting Dwight Clark. Tom Brady couldn't make that throw. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't make that throw. And then finally, I mean, he upgraded to Steve Young, who's one of the most athletic quarterbacks of all time. And then his final act was to get Jeff Garcia, who's quite an athlete, much more athletic than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he would look at Jimmy and be like, he's a pocket guy. He's a little bit of a platform.
Yes, he used to call those guys moving platforms, and it was not praise. No. And I want to tell you, I'm going to remind you about Garcia because I saw this happen. Bill got Garcia because Bill had seen him. He had played against him when he was at San Jose State, and he had seen him. And when he brought him over, Mariucci didn't want him. I mean, I know that.
I shouldn't be on the team, not even third string.
He didn't want him. Yeah. He told, as far as I understand it, he told Kevin Lynch he's just a guy.
That's right.
I mean, that's what I understand. And Bill saw what Mariucci couldn't see. And Iggy, that's why Mariucci is at the children's table.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just a guy, huh? No. You're just a guy, Steve. Sorry. Mooch. You're just a guy. But you got nice hair. Whew, that hair.
He's very handsome and he's a very nice man.
Yeah, he looked good. He didn't see it with Jeff Garcia. But again, Garcia could move. All three of those guys could move. Jimmy, maybe he could have moved before the ACL, but now he's pretty much a moving platform.
One other thing about Jeff Garcia, he played fierce. He was fierce. And Ira Miller, who was so brilliant, called Jeff Garcia a chaos quarterback.
Yes.
And he said when everything broke down, he was even at his best because he loved chaos.
Yes.
He was very exciting. And, Terrell Owens was always putting him down after games.
Right. Yep.
And it just shows what a schmuck Terrell Owens was.
Right.
First of all, you don't do that to a teammate. Yep. Now, Terrell is in the Hall of Fame, which I don't think he deserves to be in. And Garcia never will be. Terrell's in, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's in. Yes. But he put down this really good quarterback, and he was wrong about that. And Jeff Garcia had to live with that.
Yes, that's right. I agree. Well, we have some more questions real quick. Mark Espinoza says, do you feel Kyle is being held to a much higher standard due to his last name? That's one way to look at it.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's a very good question. Iggy, the people who watch, these are very good questions and things I have not thought about before. I think at a certain point, maybe he got a break early on when he got a deal with Gruden because, his dad was in the league. But At a certain point, people forget about all that stuff. It's just like you, Iggy. People, you say it's nepotism, Lowell's son. What do I have to do with you now? With you, it's I don't know these people at Sports Illustrated. You're judged on your own production, and I think Kyle is judged on his own production. So I would say it's not a relevant concept anymore.
And I think a lot of people believe in Kyle because of his last name. They see 1 year success in Atlanta, 1 year success in Washington, a young guy, and say, boy, he's got great bloodlines. He could be like his dad or even better without any of the accomplishments that his dad had, even though that he's gotten to the Super Bowl and lost it. So maybe there's higher expectations for him, but maybe there's more benefit of the doubt because of his last name. If his name was Mike Smith, maybe people be like, well, maybe he's not a genius. But you know who his dad is, you know what his whole story, or you think, and you're like, okay, well, he's got it. He's going to figure this out. I don't know. That's the way I look at it.
Well, maybe he will. I don't think he's going to figure it out this season. And then Iggy, he'll have 3 out of 4 losing seasons.
And what would that say about him? Wouldn't be good.
Know. I mean, he has a lot of excuses that are legit. True. But it's to say I believe they'll have a losing record this season. Of course, I could be wrong. Let's just pretend I'll be right. It's not a judgment. It's just a statement of fact. And what do you do with that?
Yeah. I mean, I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They never have losing seasons. Last year, they lost Ben Roethlisberger for like 13 games, and they still managed to go 8-8. And now they're undefeated. I think it's a reflection of they always use the word culture. I don't know what a better word would be, but it's a reflection of the standard, the foundation that you built, that if you have some injuries, the whole season doesn't go to hell right away, that you can actually compete even throughout all that. And I'd be curious. It'd be nice to see the Niners do that. If they can't, I mean, you don't write off Kyle Shanahan, but you notice it.
You know, when Bill Walsh and then Seifert were in charge, boy, did they have a culture. Yeah. They were the 40 freaking Niners. Yeah. And I don't feel that at this time.
They didn't have this random 4-12 seasons, 5-11 seasons because they had some bad luck. No, you have some bad luck, but you find a way to make the most of it.
They had a standard and they had a culture.
And, you know, if the Niners were to lose out the rest of they wouldn't really benefit from it. There's a lot of teams right now with 1 or 2 wins. Even if the Niners finish 5-11, they might get like the 12th pick or something like that. They're much closer to sneaking in the playoffs. So I'd like to see them have some pride and go for it. And I think they will. I don't know if they'll succeed, but I think they'll go for it.
By the way, I agree with you. And one thing I want to say in praise of Shanahan, and I guess Sal as well, his guys play hard.
Yes.
The Niners, they don't always play well, but boy, do they play hard. They don't give up.
Agreed. And if you remember how hard they played in New England, then you remember the week after that was another road game in Seattle. You could consider that a scheduled loss. It's exhausting. And then to finish up back-to-back road trips with the Thursday night game is cruel, especially when you're missing out all those guys. Now they have a week and a half to prepare. They'll be fresher. They're still one of the more clever, better coach teams in the league. I'm curious to see what they got. I don't know. It'd be too bad if they just went and got blown out and turned the page to next season already. I have higher standards for them. Do they have higher standards for themselves?
Quality control.
That's what I do. And I get paid a lot for it. All right, Dad. I think that's enough. I think we did it. I think I need to give you a call right after this.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for those questions.
They were great. See you next week, 11 o'clock Tuesday.